Hi, how are you, Carol?
I'm good. How are you, Anne?
I'm good, thanks. So did you hear that on the first Tuesday of October, the RBA will make a decision about the cash rate? What do you think they will decide when considering the domestic and global conditions?
I think from the exchange rate perspective, they should keep the same cash rate now because the exchange rate is increasing in recent months, but it's still in a very low level. So to maintain a more stable exports and imports environment, they should keep the same cash rate. Because once the RBA decide to increase the cash rate, it will increase the corporation and business cost. So our export goods will be more expensive and will be less competitive. If they decide to decrease the cash rate, it will be less attractive for the foreign investor. So they would decrease their invest in the Australian and would infect the Australian current account balance. So consider the exchange rate perspective, I think they should keep the same cash rate at 1.5%. What do you think, Anne?
I agree. And although the employment rates have increased in Australia, wage growth is quite low.
Yeah.
According to the ABS, employment growth was 2.6% this August, which is above the average of 1.9%, which in this case consumption would increase and RBA is likely to increase the cash rate. However, like I said, wage growth and unemployment is low and stable at 1.6% and 5.6% respectively. And because of this, there is really no pressure for the RBA to change the cash rate or increase or decrease it. So in this aspect, I do think that the RBA will keep the cash rate as it is.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think, Josephine?
Well, there are 3 points which can affect the GBP, such as inflation, exchange rate, and employment rate. And Joy, have you done any research about the inflation? How does the inflation affect the cash rate?
Yeah, from a bit of research, I think that if the inflation rate is too low, the government will tend to decrease the cash rate. So this will encourage people to increase their overall consumption and expenditure, ultimately putting upward pressure on inflation and decreasing the output gap. Also, if the inflation rate was too high, they would do the opposite, which is increasing the cash rate to deter people from excessive consumption and expenditure. But the current inflation rate is 1.9, which is only like 0.1% away from their ideal inflation rate of 2 to 3%. So I think this minuscule 0.1% won't really send the Australian economy into a recession or to experience an excessive boom. So I think the current cash rate of 1.5 won't really change because the government isn't really seeking to change the inflation rate by a large amount. But what do you think, Josephine?
Yeah, I think so. Like the GDP in Australia was declined in recent years since 2013 from $150 million to $120 million with several reasons such as financial crisis or inflation. GDP is usually used to compare with the same period last year if any increase on behalf of economic faster, favorable to its currency appreciation such as reduction, the economic slowdown, the pressure of its currency devaluation. To avoid the GDP goes down in the future, the government probably remain the cash rate at 1.5%. Well, below 1.5% growth shows sign of slowdown and recession.
Okay, so I think we can all agree that the cash rate will remain at 1.5%.
Yes.
Yep.